My main problem is that each time when I give a presentation, I have a tendency to walk around a lot, which is not gonna really work out too well here. So if you see me moving like this, then that's the reason. It's gonna be a bit different. But good to see you, of course. What I want to talk about is energy transition as a societal challenge, and I will start with the first part of the narrative, and then I'll ask my companion Stephen Volkers to also share his thoughts from the perspective of an energy cooperative, which is Groningen Power, and in all honesty it's also a bit more than an energy cooperative. And after that, also in line with the ideas that we had for this afternoon, is maybe some lessons and takeaways and ideas for the future about how this collaboration between universities, municipalities and other partners can actually work out. And what I want to start with is a little bit about the origins of how we collaborate. And I think there's an interesting message in this. Around 2010, people from my faculty, and I'm from the Faculty of Spatial Sciences, as it states there, I'm an urban planner, we started collaborating in a more or less formalized way with the Municipality of Groningen. And the idea was to together found an urban grow lab, with the idea that we would share student projects, we would share smaller projects, and also would work together on trying to get some larger research ongoing. Somewhat in the line of the things we also heard this morning. But it was kind of interesting how that went. I would say the very positive part of that was that we increasingly knew each other, so in the sense of institutional capacity and knowledge between the different people from the organizations, it really helped. We also saw that there were really a couple of nice student projects. I've shown, for example, a picture here of one of the design studios and these design studios basically always target projects that are also within the municipality. We had a couple of smaller projects. One of them was a smart campus project that I was involved in myself, mostly from the side of energy. We also had a coordinator. This is also the formal part of that. There was a special coordinator which was paid by the municipality and who worked basically half-time for us and half-time for the municipality. And out of this collaboration, we also were able to get one larger Horizon 2020 project ongoing, which was really on sustainable energy planning. Now, although those are all very good things, and to a large degree these collaborations continued until today, we did stop with this Urban Grow Lab, and the reason was kind of simple. We started to notice that having a specific coordinator, so basically a separate kind of organization, meant that the ownership within our own organization, the faculty, but also the ownership within the municipality of this collaboration kind of fell apart a bit, because everybody was kind of counting on this coordinating person to do it. And as a consequence, this coordinating person at a certain moment had to talk to all these people, had to make appointments, everybody's busy with their daily jobs. And we kind of noticed that if we wanted to strengthen our collaboration, it would probably be more sensible to leave the kind of educational projects to individual lecturers and their contacts with the municipality that had been established, and to focus the research part much more on trying to procure larger projects in which we could really work together. So, interestingly enough, it was successful, but we figured that the kind of organizational structure had to be deformalized, more working together instead of having this kind of an organization. Now, that mainly meant that we wanted to invest, when we talk about research, in larger projects. And doing that also allowed for something else. It also meant that instead of having the university and the municipality working together as a team, you kind of start to enter into projects which are always consortia, which means there's other parties than the municipality and the university involved. Sometimes the Polytechnic University in Groningen is also involved. There are other organizations in Groningen involved. And then we enter into larger consortia, usually Horizon 2020 kind of projects. And that has been, at least to, I would say, to a fairly good degree successful. One project is currently running, and I'll focus a bit on that one because that's the current mode in which we work together mostly. That is the Making City project. Another project just started late last year, which is to ISACAP, about local energy coalitions, and one of the partners is actually Tartu, so that's very good. You see each other in different ways. And if I zoom in on this Making City project, I want to basically indicate that this is a catalyst for something bigger than just one European Union project. So that's, I think, important to say. Within this project, the idea is, and that's why it was funded, to create so-called positive energy districts, which means a district in the city that overall will produce more energy than it consumes, which is, of course, a bit more difficult than it sounds. That basically means that you have to think about what all kinds of households use, but also that some houses have to be positive in the sense of creating more energy than is needed. You need some other buildings, you need some other facilities in these neighborhoods to make sure you can get that going. So there's definitely a clear technological part in that. And some of the ingredients of those technologies, which also have to do with some of the smart technologies that Tartu already was doing a few years before that, are also part of this. There are some demo houses, and in that sense also people are involved. But the interesting thing that I want to talk about also in this session is the second part, which is more about the kind of societal institutional developments that are needed. And the big question that we have here, and that's one of the reasons why Groningen also entered into this European Union project, is how do you find forms of citizen engagement that are more than talking to them? That actually, that the kind of energy solutions that may be out there from a technological perspective can be internalized and be owned and be accepted by citizens. And that is, of course, a very big challenge. That challenge also demands some institutional changes. Part of this project is that there's going to be a new sustainable energy and climate action plan. There has to be a new city vision, which is an interesting one because the city vision will be partly prepared by us at the university and the city. Of course, the city decides on it, but we provide quite a bit of input on that, which is really nice. And at this moment, we're doing a couple of smaller research kind of activities to figure out which way this vision may have to go. And especially we also try to focus on some novel tool development that may be underneath such a vision. If you identify tools that you may be able to apply, it also becomes easier to state in your vision that you're going to be able to do that. Now, if I zoom a bit more on that second part, Groningen is also one of the 2 lighthouse cities, similar as the project in Tartu, with regards to Making City project. And it was selected as a lighthouse, especially because it had already started a few years before that with a neighborhood energy approach, which kind of means that it had fairly ambitious plans and visions with regards to where the city should go to regarding climate neutrality. But it also wanted to do it in a way in which neighborhoods and the citizens in them would be directly involved in the plan making. What we, however, noticed was, although you can, of course, sit together and make plans and visions, that's relatively doable. At the moment when you have to start implementing them, there's all kinds of constraints. And those constraints, for example, relate to how are you going to do all the investments in individual homes? If you're a homeowner, you would probably have to do the investments yourself, like insulation or solar panels or heat pumps, or even a connection to a heat grid. Who's going to finance and create heat grids if you want those in your city? And Groningen is busy with that. There's also a question how you engage housing corporations that do the social housing. So there's quite a lot of implementation kind of related aspects. So you can sit around the table and through a co-creative strategy with people design how you might want the neighborhood to look like in the future, also with regards to your energy infrastructure and ways in which you do that. But how to actually get the business case going socially is a very different kind of challenge. We do that in a consortium with quite a few people from Groningen. So within the Making City project, I would say there's easily 50 different project partners. And in Groningen, you see them here. A couple of research institutes, housing corporations, an energy cooperative, Groningen Power, an ICT company, especially related to the smart appliances and data management, and also 3 individual companies, including a heat company that creates heat grids. Now, the main underlying logic that we are trying to develop and trying to work towards is what we call integrated and collaborative approach to energy transition. And that basically means that, first of all, you have to figure out how you can do cross-sectoral capacity building. What that means is that we already quite soon realized that if you look at the municipal governance, then just as much as it is the case with universities, there are silos. Mobility, poverty, housing, energy, economic development, and all those silos essentially are relevant if you want to do something like an energy transition, which means that if you want to create the right capacities to be able to really do energy transition, they have to relate to each other. So we did an analysis of a city, Groningen, who already has been busy with this topic for, I would say, about 15 years in trying to really do energy transition. And even today, I would say the last year, there is some dynamic. We figured out that, for example, the whole domain on livability and poverty did not consider energy as a topic, whereas it is, definitely with the current gas prices, a quite relevant topic also in that domain. So there you really start to see that even within the municipality there was a lot of gaps that you could still fill and improve on. That is also what you want to do in the long-term vision, to kind of activate all the different groups and the different budgets and the different activities within the municipality to work towards that goal. And in that sense, energy can also be somewhat like a structuring element in pushing forward your vision on how you want to let the city function. Finances and societal business cases, I already mentioned them. How are you going to make sure that individual homeowners are going to invest? Or if they don't have the capital or the income to be able to do that, that you support them in doing that in some way. How can you do that? It's not that evident. How do you activate housing corporations to do that? If you want individual homeowners to gain access to a heat grid, that can easily be 15,000 euros. And the heat grid is not necessarily a lot cheaper. So, and then what? These kind of questions are the kind of questions you want to study and want to figure out, are there tools that you may be able to apply? And it also means that when we look at empowerment, we're not just looking at empowerment in the form of giving people a say in decision making or be able to participate in talking about the future of the neighborhood. You want to empower them in being able to also invest, in being able to also partake, actually join in doing the energy transition. And that may, especially for those who are not that wealthy, a problem. So what works, what doesn't? And this is, of course, an ongoing project. This is not something where we have an answer within a couple of weeks. If we would have, then I think the whole of Europe would be happy. But it is kind of what we are trying to do. Now, in that sense, Making City, for us as a university, is really also a catalyst in doing our research. This is the kind of knowledge we are after, knowledge that is practically applicable. I'm an urban planner, which means that at the end of the day, we want to do science that actually matters in society quite clearly. It also has created some spin-offs. One of the projects to ISACAP is one of those spin-offs. For us, it's also great to always get feedback directly from practice. I think for universities, especially if you're in social sciences, that's really something important. If you don't have one leg somewhat in society, then you miss out on a lot on how it actually works. So for me and for us, that's really an added benefit. It also allows us to access into a network of other parties. In a sense, these kind of projects also mean that we can expand the way in which we work together with other groups and therefore get more feedback, but also be able to valorize the stuff we do better. And at this moment, like I said, really this idea of going forward with this real empowerment. Now, I want to zoom a little bit on that aspect also because that is a central topic for this afternoon. And on the one hand, and that's what I'm going to say, there is this issue about actually activating, empowering people also in a financial sense to be able to join energy transition. And one of the things that we have increasingly started to know, and we were busy with that for the last 1.5, 2 years, and now with the current gas prices and Dutch society being very dependent on gas, this has only increased in urgency. There's quite a lot of people that are essentially not very able to join in energy transition. If you do not have a roof, it's going to be very difficult to purchase solar panels and put on them, obviously. If you have a low income or low capital, you're not going to be able to purchase that or insulate your home, which in both cases also means you're not eligible for subsidies because you're not investing. So the subsidies that everybody pays for from their energy bill actually go to those that can, which kind of creates a pretty weird redistribution of capital in society. There's also limited ownership. If you talk about a heat net, in some countries, Denmark, but I think also in Sweden there are examples, they are collaboratively owned. In the Netherlands that's not the case, but it might be a model where you really want to push forward. The aspect of energy poverty is increasingly becoming a topic. 3 years ago, our minister, that was at that time responsible for energy, said energy poverty does not exist in the Netherlands. Well, that is, and I can safely say that, bullshit. Because in all countries in Europe, it is there. It's also there. In Groningen, we basically identified that somewhere around 10% of the households cannot afford their energy bills. Now, of course, that's a topic that is related to a wider poverty issue, but it is there. Denying that is just kind of stupid. So these kind of things about what kind of tools could we invent, and they can range from cheap loans, they can range from mortgages that are bound to the soil, they can range for subsidy streams that maybe the municipality can be involved in. It also ranges from the municipality starting to exploit their own solar parks and with that money possibly funding some of those things. Those kind of innovations are the things we're trying to study. But apart from that, of course, and you can tell, what we are doing with the municipality is mostly studying the institutional tool kind of things that are out there to get this done. Apart from that, there is of course also the citizen. And I must humbly admit that I don't talk to a lot of citizens that often. And that's exactly why in a project like this, we also need people who really understand how you can create real involvement in decision making and ownership. And that's when I hand over the word to my colleague, Steven.
Thank you, Christian. My name is Steven Volkers. I'm a director of an energy cooperative, Groningen Power, power to the people. You had a lot of questions. It would be easy to say that a cooperative is the answer to all those questions, but I wouldn't say we are part of the solution. We are part of the problem solving together, and that's what you said. Eh? We're kind of a dynamic institution. Is anyone here a member of a cooperative? People from Basque, absolutely, I think. Yeah, nice. And when you look at the sheets here, are you a member of societal reasons, or do you like to have collective social ownership, or do you say, well, they just have good services? I need energy services, and the cooperative is just delivering good services. Any hands? Yeah? Okay. And everyone knows what a cooperative is. It's not new, eh? No. Okay, that's very good. Well, the role of energy cooperatives in the Netherlands is kind of new. We exist for, well, 10 years now. We kind of evolved from sort of frustration and sort of passion, and we're kind of a movement at this time. We're looking at the northern Netherlands. There are 100 cooperatives, and in the Netherlands 700. And more than 110,000 people are members of such a cooperative. In a cooperative, they're kind of shareholders, but they own the company, and the company is not for profit, but the company is for making impact. It's kind of the other way around. There are three reasons why people join a cooperative. It's of the social movement. People want to change something, and they are looking for ideas. They're looking for knowledge. They're looking for people who share the same ideas. That's an important reason why people are a member of our cooperative. There's also the one that Christian mentioned, and that is that not everyone has the means or the roof to join the energy transition, and we think it should be inclusive, and it should be for everyone. So although we really like to help individuals, we really emphasize the idea of doing it collective. Collective design, collective co-creation, co-production, collective realization, and collective ownership of energy also. And we like to also include people who don't have money can also join those projects. Although energy poverty is a very big issue in the Netherlands, it's the problem with those things. It's also a trend. So everyone is working on energy poverty, but you mentioned it right. Poverty is a real problem, and it's a central government problem, and you can't, well, let local people solve that all by themselves. Transactional service is also important for a cooperative, because when you start as a volunteering company and you get more professional, people say, well, I really like to join your cooperative, but can you give me security that my electricity is coming to my home? So you also need to be a professional, and that's also the boundary spanning that exists. Once cooperatives evolve, they go from voluntary more to professional organizations, and they have the mission to really be the organization who knows what's happening in the neighborhood. We talk to citizens. You also talk to citizens, Christian. You're a citizen yourself, but it's kind of a boundary spanning idea when you're really in the neighborhood and you're working on green roofs, and on the other hand, you're in big negotiations with the municipality for contracts over the 5 years. So it's a wide span, and then you do the negotiation with the municipality, and you're very proud, and you come back to your society and you say, well, this is what we gained, and they say, well, it's not enough for us. So we're running through those different domains. But that's the issue we're working on, and from bottom-up community building to professional projects and partnerships. So we did a kind of an well, I wouldn't say experiment, because everyone was aware and involved, but we worked on a district heating project for over a year with 3 districts and 6 neighborhoods. And at the end, we had to decide where to start with our district heating project. So in the early stage of the project, we started communicating with them, and they started communicating with us. How are you going to make the decision at the end? And say, well, let's think about it together. So in co-creation, co-production, we came up with this list of indicators on which to assess the neighborhood who has the most chance of success of being the first district heating connected project. And that they wouldn't be the only one, but they would be the first, and the other ones would follow shortly after. But it was a kind of tensive, exciting process, because people had to evolve themselves, neighborhoods had to evolve themselves, and we looked at these 5 criteria. And these are the criteria that we came up with together with them, and we made it an open assessment together with the neighborhoods and the municipality. And in the end, well, I must say everyone was quite happy. There are always few people who are not happy, but that's what happens in energy transition when you want to move on. So this is a kind of phase where we started from bottom up to what I would call more middle out. And my last sheet is that we're now in a public, and normally we say public-private partnership. Well, that's the nicest thing about a cooperative. We can be public because we work on the public domain, but we are also a social enterprise. So we see both sides. But a public cooperative partnership, that's what we're working on now, and that's a combination of both worlds. And you see another logo here, that's Warmtestad. And Warmtestad is the district heating company of the Municipality of Groningen. And the picture you see here was formally approved by the City Council. And we're very happy on that as a cooperative, because that means that they acknowledge that we can deliver energy. And you would say, well, what's new about delivering energy? But for us, it's so important that we're not only voters or taxpayers and consumers, but we can also be prosumers. So what you can see in this picture is that we not only want to deliver energy, but we also want to have ownership over the source, and that makes the circle round. Well, can you end up this session, Christian, for me? Yeah. Can you make an intelligent wrap up? Then yeah.
I'll end it.
You're ended, great.
And there's only one thing that I wanted to say, and then Jenny, do come and then please do shut me up. The one thing that I wanted to say is the second one. The best way to collaborate is to work together. What we have figured out is that you just have to start working together, and then you continuously start to build up new things. But you need a vehicle like these kind of projects to get that going. And I think that is something we learned. So it's not the very formal part, it is more just doing it.
Thank you.